Okay, so today we're talking about fractions. In the world, there are three different kinds of fractions. So we'll first see, does anybody know a kind of fraction? Blank fractions.
Positive fraction.
That's true, but that's not like an official title for today.
Will this be like the mixed fractions?
Okay, mixed fractions are usually called mixed numbers, so I'm not going to include that in this list because a mixed number isn't really a fraction.
So it would be like the improper
Okay,
fractions.
improper fractions is a choice, so that makes the list. We mentioned that yesterday by accident. Somebody asked about improper fractions. I said it was common. Here it is. Improper fractions is a type of fractions. Yeah.
Proper.
There is a thing called proper fractions. That's just the opposite of improper fractions. And then there's a third weird one that we probably won't guess right away. So let's do, can anybody remind us in terms of a definition? What's improper about
It's
it?
when like the bigger numbers on top of
Okay, so if we have the top being bigger, that is an improper fraction. We have some of those on the board. Can somebody spot me an improper fraction? 17 over 2. So 17 over 2 is an improper fraction, top is bigger. Proper fractions, what do you think that means if we have a proper fraction?
the bottom is big.
Bottom is bigger. So if we have the bottom bigger, that's going to be a proper fraction. Most of what you've seen so far this year has been proper fractions. Are there any proper fractions on the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, where's a proper? Who's a proper fraction?
The 2/5.
The 2/5. There's a whole bunch of 2/5 there. Each one of those 2/5 is a proper fraction. So what would the third choice be, either for a name or for an explanation? There's propers, there's impropers, and then there's a third choice.
I was just gonna say when you guys went for the like definition, it's where like they're both the top and bottom are the same.
Yeah, if we get top and bottom being the same, that's a third type of choice. That's the one you see the least. You'll see a lot of propers. You'll see a fair amount of impropers. You don't see a lot where the top and bottom are the same. Do we have any of those on the board?
The 3/3.
The 3/3. Anybody a thought on what is the best name for that? Whole? I'd say even better than that.
Even.
No, even's like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. When you say whole numbers, remember we learned that word. What were the whole numbers when we did those lists? What was the list of wholes?
Natural and counting.
That was another category, but which numbers were the whole numbers?
0, 1, 2, 3.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the number line, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whenever you say it's a whole number, you could mean it's any one of those numbers from 0 and up. A more specific best name for that, if the top and bottom are the same, the best name for this? 1. So it's not a very good name. It's not, but it works, okay? So improper fractions is when the top is bigger, proper when the bottom's bigger, 1 if they're the same. That's where we are. The main thing we're going to do today in terms of work is we're going to take improper fractions and we're going to turn those into either mixed numbers or sometimes whole numbers. So if I give you one of these, one of these, one of these, there's a process by which we can turn impropers into mixed or wholes. You know what to do.
It's where you take 2 and you divide it. So it's like if you use 2 17s. 17 will be the dividend and then 2 will be the divisor.
That's correct. What we're going to do is we're going to divide the bottom into the top. If you divide the bottom into the top, that's always going to be able to turn an improper into a mixed or a whole. And that should connect and remind you of something we've done before. We learned a few weeks ago the fraction bar in one of the lessons meant to divide. So it still means that today. If we divide 5 into 13, that's going to get us a mixed number. 5 into 13 goes 2 times. Temporary here is 10. Remainder 3. So now the question is, who goes where? What mixed number does this make out of the numbers we just played with?
2 3/5.
It is 2 for the big old whole number in front. Whatever the quotient is goes in the front. For fraction, the remainder goes on the top. And then the one that's the easiest is the bottom. The bottom just stays the same. It was 5, it still is 5. That made a mixed number. How would it make a whole number? Because I said sometimes it makes mixed, sometimes it makes wholes.
If it's even.
If it divided even. If it divides evenly, it's just a whole number. So 2 into 17 is what we want to work on this one. 2 into 17 goes 8 times, so that's the whole number. When we go to do the fraction, remainder goes on top. 1, bottom, still 2. Question about the process, that's the main process of the day. Why is this one a little different? I picked this one to be a little different. What's a little different about this one? Is that a hand? It goes into it evenly, so what do you think for just 2? That's all we get. We don't get a fraction, you just get the 2 when it goes evenly. This, we need to do the math problem before we can do anything about it. What are we gonna get if we add up a bunch of 2/5?
6/5.
Count them again?
8/5.
8/5. We want when we add or subtract to have a, what's it called?
A common denominator.
Common denominator, which includes the answer. So bottom, bottom, bottoms all stay the same. Tops, 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 add up to 8. If you had this problem yesterday, you'd have been okay. If you have this problem today, I'd give you half a point for this because it's preferred that you not give any more improper answers this year. High school, they're gonna start to let you do the impropers again and not worry about it. But through middle school, they're gonna make you make these into mixed or whole numbers. So somebody 8/5 upgrade it.
1 3/5.
It is 1 3/5. Does anybody need help making that jump? Because that's new to us this year today, but you've done that before. This, we decided best name for this is 3/3 is 1. So what's the grand total of that if you've got the 6 sitting there staring at you already and the 3/3 makes the 1?
7.
7. We need to add those together. Something there. For this, ignore the 4 for a second. What would 5/3 make?
1 2/3.
1 2/3. 5/3 is 1 2/3. Does anybody need help with that jump? With that? Good? You understand how that's 1 2/3? So 1 2/3 is what that is. So if this is 1 2/3 and the 4 is still staring at you, what's the total on that? 5 2/3 is correct. Questions about any of that? Okay, last one, and then we'll get started on our homework. We first have to do the math. The 2's at the beginning are gonna make us get a 4. The fractions will make us get
4 and 3.
4 and 3. Ignore the 4 for a second and trade the 4/3 in your mind. What would 4/3 trade into?
1 and 1/3.
1 and 1/3. So the grand total with the 1 and 1/3 in addition to the 4, we'll stick with you,
5 and 1/3.
would be 5, and then that stray 1/3. That's what we're doing today. There's not a vocab quiz or anything on this, but you do want to know the words proper and improper. Those are just good to know. You want to know when top and bottom are the same, it's 1. That's just stuff you want to know, even apart from any kind of quizzing. The main scheme of the day is divide the bottom into the top. If it goes evenly, you've got a whole number. If there's a remainder, you've got a mixed number. Anything on that? So let's hit up where the homework page is going to be. It's going to be 2 pages. Let's see, 63. I'm going to do a little bit of the letters, not all of the letters. 63, I'm going to go E, F, G, H. 63 E, F, G, H I do because there's some problems that lead into answers that you fix, and I want to practice that a little bit. 66, I'm going to do a little bit more letters for the same reason, same type of problems. On 66, we're going to go F, G, H, I, J. There are going to be some mixed number kind of questions that you're going to have to fix. The main group of homework, though, is in the back. There's a set H. So in the back to set H, they're more like the ones we came in on, the easier ones, just they're going to give you an improper and you change it. So set H, you're going to change 25 of those back there.